Hi, this is Paul with the Mission Bay Aquatic Center. Today, I want to show you guys how we rig our lasers here at the Aquatic Center. We're going to have to get out quite a few pieces of equipment. It's going to look a little bit overwhelming, but it's actually a pretty easy process to set up these boats. The first thing we need to decide is we need to know which size sail we're going to use. At the Aquatic Center, we have two different size sails for our lasers. They're kept in these two bags. We have the full-size laser sail kept in the yellow bag, and what's known as the laser radial sail that's kept in the black bag. The radial sail is a little bit smaller. The main reason why you're going to decide between one sail and the other is your body weight. Typically, if you weigh 150 pounds or less, you want to gravitate towards the radial sail. If you're over 150 pounds, which I definitely am, you're going to go to the full-size sail. So I'm going to take this yellow bag and I'm going to leave the black bag here. So the first step of rigging our laser is I'm going to get the mast ready as well as the sail. My sail is out of the bag. I've already put a couple of the battens in. There's 3 battens along the leach of the sail. Make sure you put them in all the way. You start by putting the batten all the way in to the bottom of the pocket and then sliding it down to make sure it doesn't come back out while you're sailing. So that's all we need to do to the mainsail. Now, I also need the 2 mast sections. The mast is made up of 2 different sections. I have an upper section and a lower section. These are really simple things here. We're just going to slide the upper section into the lower section. Sometimes people have a hard time telling which of these pieces of aluminum is which. The lower section has the boom thing hanging from it, also has the gooseneck mounted to it. So that's how you can tell that's the lower section. Remember before we decided we were sailing on the full-size sail? This is a full-size lower section. Between the 2 different sails, the only difference is the length of the lower mast section. Here at Mission Bay Aquatic Center, we have black bands on all of our lower mast sections that are for the radial sails to match the black sail bags. So if you're using a full rig, make sure you're using a lower mast section that does not have the black band, just like this one. I'm just going to set it on the ground. Grab an upper mast section. Upper mast section has no hardware on it except for the plastic here at the end that's going to slide into the lower section. No lines or anything like that hanging from it. Sometimes it's easy to mistake the upper section for the boom because the aluminum looks very similar, but the upper section just has nothing on it. And I'm just going to slide these 2 together. Make sure it's seated all the way down. Now the laser uses a sock sewn into the sail is how it's going to go onto the mast. So I find the tack of the sail. You can always find it because our cunningham is hanging from it. And here's the sock right here that's going to slide over our whole mast. And I'm going to slide the sock of the mainsail over the entire length of the mast. All right, that's it. Sail is on the mast. Now I'm just going to bunch up the fabric here and carry it to my boat. Okay, so I've got my sail down at the boat. My boat's already here on the sand, pointed into the wind. Now, standing the mast up is the hardest part of the rigging process. So if you need help, don't be afraid to ask one of our staff here to give you a hand doing this. The easiest way I've found to do it is to start standing behind and slightly to the side of the boat. I'm going to just put the base of the mast right over the socket where it's going to end up. I'm going to walk the mast vertical until it falls down into that socket. The next items I need are our Daggerboard and rudder and tiller. The Daggerboard, I'm just going to set it on the boat for now. I'm actually not going to put that in where it belongs until we're ready to go. To set up the rudder, I'm going to line up the pinions with the gudgeons on the boat. You should push it down until you hear it click. That click is the lock, so it's not going to just fall off on us while we're sailing. Now I'm going to rig the tiller and tiller extension. It's very important that I put the tiller underneath this line. This is our traveler. And then I'm going to line up the tiller with the rudder head, making sure the white plastic is on top. And then there's a pin. But once you line up the holes, the pins just go in there, and that's what holds the tiller to the rudder. It's always good to double check that I put my plug in. My hole plug is right here at the very back of the boat. That should be twisted all the way in to make sure we don't fill our hole with water while we're sailing. This line is the line we're going to use to pull down our rudder and hold it down. You rig it by bringing it alongside the tiller, through the cleat on the tiller, and we don't want it to come undone while we're sailing, so I put a figure 8 knot in it. Now the last piece of equipment I need is our boom. The boom is really easy to tell what it is because it's got a long main sheet hanging from the end of it. And it installs really simply. In the inboard end of the boom, there's a hole on the gooseneck of the mast. There's a pin. Hole slides over the pin. Now what's going to keep that on there is the tension of our outhaul. So as I pick this up, I need to keep tension that way. We've got a hook on the end of our outhaul. I need to catch the clew, put the outhaul on, and now I'm going to tension the outhaul. And because I don't want this line hanging down where my face is sailing, I'm going to just tie a couple knots around the boom here just to get it out of the way. Now I'm going to rig the Cunningham in the boom bank. The Cunningham is the line hanging from the tack of the sail. I'm just going to take the end of the line, pass through this fair lead right here at the base of the mast, come up to a block that's tied into the line. We're going to go through that block, through this fair lead again, and then back to a cleat back here. Now, it's really important that I put a stopper knot in the end of this Cunningham line because if this boat were to capsize, this is all that's holding the entire rig in the boat. So you want to make sure you pull it tight enough that you can tie a stopper knot in the end of our Cunningham line. For the boom vang, I'm just going to grab the upper block. It's got a key on the end of it that goes in a keyhole on the boom, slides forward, and I'm actually going to leave it loose for now. I'm not going to tighten it until I'm ready to go sailing because as soon as I tighten this, the sail won't luff as completely as with the boom vang loose, and especially if it gets windy, the boat might be likely to capsize here on the beach, so I'm just going to leave that loose. For the main sheet, I get the end of the main sheet, and the main sheet is going to go through the block on the Traveler from the front to the back, up to the block on the end of the boom, from the back to the front. Now the main sheet goes alongside the bottom of the boom. I need to make sure I go through this fair lead that's right here on the bottom of the boom. If I don't go through that fair lead, I can end up with a big loop in the main sheet that will tend to catch you around the head when you jibe. So we don't want that. Make sure you go through that fair lead. Continue forward to the forward block on the boom, down to the ratchet block. The ratchet block should make a sound and turn when you pull on it. It should not turn when the sail pulls on it. That's what gives you some extra holding power with that ratchet block. Again, we don't want this to come undone while we're sailing, so I throw a figure 8 knot in the end of it. Before we push off from the beach, I want to mention the cockpit drain plug. You might notice in the back of the cockpit here, there's another drain and a plug hanging from a string back here. Now, I tend to leave this plug out while I'm sailing. If you leave this plug out, you're going to always have a little bit of water in the cockpit, but any additional water that splashes in or gets in there after riding the boat from a capsize will drain out. If you want to start with the cockpit dry, you just simply put this plug and just push it into the hole there. You're going to start out with no water in the cockpit, but any water that splashes in or gets scooped in after a capsize will stay in there, and you might need to pull the plug to actually drain the bulk of that water out. So now my boat's ready. I want to give you guys some tips about leaving the beach here. First of all, got my properly fitted life jacket on here. We're starting off with our boat pointing into the wind. Now it's important when you're handling this boat on the beach, you never ever grab the boom. As soon as I grab the boom and try and stop the sail from luffing or try and force the sail into another position, the boat's actually just going to tip over here on the sand. So don't grab the boom, we're just going to handle the actual boat. And the biggest tip I can give you guys when you're leaving the beach, hold the boat in the middle on the windward side. That's going to give you the most control over the boat. You're going to be able to point the boat whatever direction you need to before you get into it. I want you to also remember, leaving the beach doesn't have to be rushed. We can do this step by step and we can be methodical about it. So holding the boat in the middle, I'm going to point the boat the direction that I want to go, step into the boat, already holding my tiller extension, and I'm going to focus on my steering first. While keeping the boat going straight, I'm going to pull my rudder line, get my rudder all the way down, lock it in the down position. Now I can grab my Daggerboard, pick up the Daggerboard, slide it all the way down, use the bungee cord that's attached to the bottom of the boom vang to go around the wooden dowel. That's going to keep my Daggerboard from sliding up. Now I'm ready to sheet in my sail and go sailing. Coming back into the beach, we also want to take it step by step as well. Starting far away from the beach, upwind of where we want to be, I'm going to take the Daggerboard all the way out of the Daggerboard slot and just lay it on the deck of the boat. As I get a little bit closer to the beach, I'm going to uncleat my rudder line so that when it hits the sand, it can kick up. Right before I get to the beach, I'm going to push my tiller towards the shore. That's going to turn me into the wind for a nice, easy, smooth landing. So that's the laser Mission Bay Aquatic Center. Hopefully we can get you out on the water enjoying one soon. If you want to learn more about the different programs we offer here, visit us at our website, mbaqaticcenter.com.